Welcome to the show, Dr. Finkle.
Thank you for having me.
Let's dive in. So you had this amazing opportunity of bringing your students to meet Warren Buffett in 2009 for the first time and spend the day with him. You also have, prior to that, a personal relationship with the Buffett family. Maybe we can start with that. Can you talk about that relationship and the Buffett family a little bit to kind of set the foundation to understanding who Warren Buffett was?
Sure. I grew up in Omaha, which is where Warren had his home. And he grew up originally in Omaha, but he also moved to Washington, D.C. when his father became a congressman. And so he also lived there. He didn't really like Washington, D.C. He preferred Omaha,
Okay.
and he eventually moved back there. And So I grew up there, and I actually went to high school and junior high with his son, Peter. And so I knew Peter through some friends of mine. Peter was a little bit older than me, a couple years older, but he used to sit at our lunch table in high school. So I got to know him relatively well. And he's just a normal guy. I had a baseball cap and ripped up jeans, and a very humble, uh, kind of quiet guy, kind of an artsy kind of guy into music and photography, the complete opposite of Warren.
Yeah.
Warren is not like that at all.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah. And really nice guy. But back then, that was in 1976. So Berkshire Hathaway, the stock price was $69. And today, the stock price is around $540,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of, the time frame. And nobody really knew who Warren Buffett was back then. Nobody at our table, none of my friends knew that. Otherwise, they would have been talking about it. No, nobody talked about it.
Right.
So that's what made it kind of cool, is that we knew Warren before he was Warren Buffett. You know, he was just a normal person, not this famous, really wealthy guy. So, and I think Pete is indicative of his humbleness, is indicative of Warren, of his traits as well. So, because Warren's a very down to earth, humble guy, and he's like your grandfather. So that was my introduction. My brother knew Howie, who is the next oldest kid. He's 5 years older than me, and my brother was friends with him. And my cousin Steve Nog was friends with Susie, the only girl in the family. And
In the Buffett family.
yeah, and so Susie, I was lucky enough to get an interview with her for the book. And so I talked to her and got some information. So indirectly, I'm kind of, and of course, I've hung out with Warren, like 6 times, and went out to lunch with him 3 times, and was able to talk to him one on one and ask him questions and get to know him a little bit better. So I've got all this stuff going on. For the first 9 years, people usually are wondering why it took me 14 years to write the book. But really, the first 9 years was more so about doing research. And I took all these groups of students to go visit Warren, and we had Q&A sessions with him. So I was able to get all that primary research and put that into the book, all
Yes,
new
the back of your
information.
book. Yes.
And so, and I wrote like 5 articles while I was doing all of this. The first 9 years, I had no idea I was going to write a book on Warren Buffett.
And what prompted that? What made you click and go, I need to write a
Well,
book?
you really have to be kind of I don't know what the right word is. Have you ever written a book before?
Yes, I actually taught college for 10 years. So
Oh, all right.
I have written articles and yes.
So,
Yes.
to write something as significant as a book on Warren Buffett, there's already been a lot of books written about him. So the challenge for me really is how do I differentiate myself from everybody else? Why is somebody going to buy my book over all these other books that have been written about Warren Buffett? So that's, luckily I'm an entrepreneur.
I was going to say that's an entrepreneurial question that
Yeah. So, what's funny and what I wanted to share with your the people that listen to you is that don't listen to other people. Sometimes they're wrong, you know, and so I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking people, should I write a book on Warren Buffett? I've got all this information, I've got the motivation to do it, da 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 da. Everybody told me no. And so what do? I do the complete opposite. I do, and I go for it, and I work my butt off in order to achieve this. And I had no idea that it was going to work either. When you do this, it's a risk. You're taking a risk like an entrepreneur.
Correct. Yes.
So so I just went for it, and for the next 5 years, then it was just full force, full time, 60 hours a week, 3 to 4 in the morning, just writing and researching and getting really deep into it and collecting a group of people that I knew that could help me with various aspects of the book, because you can't be expected to know everything. And being an entrepreneur, we all know that. So you have to have a great team around you. So I had some really good people that helped me with various aspects of the book. A friend of mine that was a CFA, Matt Koffler here, another friend of mine that I grew up with, helped me throughout the whole process of writing a book, which is just very difficult unto itself, is going through that whole process, not knowing what to do, because I've never done anything of this significance before.
How many pages is it?
It's about 300 pages.
That's a huge body of work. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I went through the whole process of going to the big publishers. I wanted to do that and see what they thought. And since it wasn't like Obama, his biography or something like that, they weren't interested in me.
Right, you're not a brand. Well, now you're going to be.
So I had to step down a little bit. So I went to university presses, and I sent it off to Stanford and Chicago and Columbia University Press, and Columbia picked me up right away, because that's where Warren went to school for graduate school. And so I was very lucky, class outfit, and they helped me out with the whole process, and it's been very successful. I'm really happy with it, and it's been a lot of work. Even after I've gotten it published, it's been a lot of work, but
any success, you need to put a lot of work into it.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's been a lot more fun than being an academic. You'll appreciate that.
Not too fun. Having gone that route a little bit.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you finally, for the first time, get to spend the day with Warren, with your students. What was that like? How did that change your approach to investing, or what you teach your students? What did you learn from him that stood out to you?
He didn't, the way they do it is that he has like a 2.5 hour Q&A with like 6 groups of students from all over the world. And so we went up to his corporate headquarters, and there's a big room, and I sat in the front row and
course.
I was taking notes, and it's a combination of things. The students get to ask him questions. Usually it's about 3 questions per school, and usually they're, about the economy and investing and things of that nature. But he also adds stuff about how to be a better person. So there's a combination of things, and I did that in my book as well, is there's a good chunk in the book about how to be a better person and things that you can pick up. Because I think in the long run, that's more important than having a big house and having a fancy car and everything, is being a good person and being happy with yourself and treating others with respect and kindness and things of that nature. But as far as investing is concerned, I asked him at lunch. I did to get invited, I wrote a case study on him, because I got rejected the first time because they said the line was way too long to go visit him. So what I did was I thought outside of the box, and I wrote a case study about him, and I got it published at an academic journal. And then I had this epiphany. Well, why don't I send this to Warren to see if he'll invite us? And luckily he did. And so that was in 2009, November of 2009. And we hung out with him that weekend. That was the same weekend he bought Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad.
Okay.
And so all these, the press was following him around everywhere. And, but, he told me at lunch, he said, I asked him, I go, I really only had one question for him, because I did this case study and I learned all about him. And I just said, how do you value a company, Warren? That's what everybody wants to know.
Of course. That's what he's known for, his strategy for that.
Yeah, and he goes, the discounted cash flow. That's all he said. And I asked him that twice. I was waiting for more. And
Right.
he said the discounted cash flow again. So what really stimulated me to writing the book was trying to learn what he does. What is Warren Buffett's secret sauce? That's what really got me going on this book. And it was not easy to learn what he's doing, because you have to look, and I'm in entrepreneurship. Now you're talking investments, which is a whole new field. And but what I did was I wrote 3 chapters on value investing. And then I went through all the various aspects of it, the quantitative and the qualitative and the valuation parts of it. And I kind of laid it out so anybody can learn how to do this stuff, even if you're, a professor of biology, or, a student, any lay person can read this stuff and understand it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be for everybody.